All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're talking about a skill that's an absolute game changer for academic writing. We're going to talk about how to take that confusing cloud of ideas you've got in your head and turn it into a clear, powerful, and persuasive essay. And here's the secret. It's not really about writing more, it's about planning smarter. You know that feeling, right? You've got all these great points, some really interesting evidence, but when you try to actually put it all down on paper, it just feels like a mess, kind of weak and all over the place. Look, that doesn't mean you have bad ideas. It just means you're missing the blueprint. And that right there, that's the key. You've got to shift your mindset. I want you to start thinking of yourself less as just a writer and more like an architect. Your outline, that's the blueprint for the entire structure. If that blueprint is solid, your essay is going to stand strong. But if it's shaky, well, the whole thing can just fall apart. So, where does any good architect begin? They start with the foundation. And in essay writing, your foundation is your thesis statement. Seriously, everything else you build, it's all going to rest on this one single crucial sentence. Think about your introduction like a funnel. You start out broad, right? You introduce the general topic to give your reader some context. Then you start to narrow it down, focusing on the specific issue you're talking about. And finally, boom, you arrive at the very sharp, very clear point of that funnel, your thesis. Let's just look at the difference here, because it's huge. A weak thesis, something like, final exams are controversial. I mean, yeah, okay, it's a fact, but it gives you absolutely nowhere to go. Now look at the strong one. It lays out the entire blueprint for us. Although they offer standardized measurement, universities should adopt continuous assessment because it enhances retention, reduces anxiety, and promotes practical skills. See that? It takes a firm position, it previews the three main arguments we're about to hear, and it even gives a nod to the other side of the debate. Now that is a powerful foundation. Okay, our foundation is set. It's solid. Now it's time to build upwards. We need to erect our core arguments. These are the pillars that are going to hold up your entire essay. Basically, we're talking about your body paragraphs. And a fantastic guideline to use here is the rule of three. Now, it's not some strict law you have to follow, but having three distinct, well-developed arguments, it just gives the essay a real sense of balance and completeness. Trust me, it's way more effective to have three super strong pillars than, say, five shaky ones. So each one of those pillars has its own internal structure, its own mini blueprint. You always start with a topic sentence that clearly states what that paragraph is going to argue. Then you bring in your evidence. That's your research, your data, your examples. But then comes the most important part, the explanation and analysis. This is where you tell the reader why that evidence matters. And to finish it off, you link it all right back to your main thesis. See how it reinforces the whole structure? You know, a great architect doesn't just design a building for a perfect sunny day. They design it to withstand storms. And a great writer does the exact same thing. Engaging with counter-arguments, the opposing views, it doesn't weaken your essay. It actually stress tests it. It proves that your position is strong enough to hold up against criticism. It makes you sound so much more credible. So the really practical question is, where do you actually put them in the blueprint? And this is a strategic call you need to make while you're still in the outlining stage. You've basically got three main options. One, you can have a whole paragraph dedicated to bringing up and then refuting a key counterargument. Two, and this is a bit more advanced, you can weave in and knock down smaller counterpoints within each of your body paragraphs. Or three, sometimes you'll be asked to structure the whole thing in a for and against format. The point is, you have to plan for it from the start. Okay, so we've got our foundation, we've got our pillars, but a building isn't just a random pile of materials, right? It's all about how they connect and fit together. Same thing goes for your essay. We have to design for cohesion, making sure all these different parts flow logically and smoothly into each other. And this slide just illustrates the difference perfectly. A weak outline is just, well, it's a list. Exams bad, stress, skills. A strong outline, on the other hand, groups those points into logical themes. So instead of just stress, you have a whole theme on psychological impact. This thematic approach creates a flow that's so much more sophisticated and way more persuasive. Let's just look at a quick model blueprint here. See how the thesis about regulating social media immediately sets up the main arguments? Argument 1 is about misinformation. Argument 2 is about user data. And look, it clearly signals that it's going to tackle the free speech counterargument. Every single part has its place and they're all working together. That's a solid plan. So before you even dream of writing that first sentence of your essay, it's time for one last step, the final inspection. You've got to review your blueprint one last time to make absolutely sure it's sound and ready for construction. And here are the common traps you need to look out for during that inspection. First, don't write full paragraphs in your outline. Just stick to the key points and ideas. Second, remember, quality over quantity. Don't try to cram in too many weak arguments. And please don't forget to plan for those counterarguments. These little mistakes are the weak spots that can bring the whole structure down. So here is your actionable takeaway from all this. I want you to use this as a pre-writing safety check. Before you write a single word, ask yourself these questions. Does my thesis clearly state my position? Do I have 3 strong evidence-based arguments ready to go? Have I actually addressed a counterargument? Are my points organized into themes? If you can check off every single one of these boxes, you are ready to start building an essay that's going to be clear, coherent, and incredibly persuasive. And really, that's what it all comes down to. Mastering your outline isn't just some boring preliminary step. It is the most critical part of crafting an argument that really lands. It's how you transform confusion into clarity. So the real question isn't just what you want to argue, but how are you going to architect that argument to make it undeniably powerful?